Hello, my name is Darkmoon Doll, and on Thursdays I like to do a show called Spirituality Talk. Spirituality Talk is a show where I share with you the adventures I've had on Earth thus far, be they of a supernatural, paranormal, what may seem to be mundane nature or spiritual nature. I think that every moment of every day is a spiritual experience. So today what I wanted to talk to you guys about is two different books. Some people would think of one as being only mythology and just a story that people made up over the years. And another book people may think is absolute truth. This did happen, this is written, and this is true occurrences. But after further just studying it, I'm not anywhere done with studying these two books. But so far, I've found one more interesting than the other. And also, what makes one a myth and one not a myth. So let me show you the two books I'm referring to. One is called the Holy Bible, which a lot of you are familiar with. But another book that a lot of you probably are not familiar with is a book which I showed on a show that I did on my other channel about a thrift shop haul that I did where I found a few books that I liked from the thrift store. And I'm not going to say I liked the Holy Bible because one of them was a Holy Bible that I found, and I felt like I wanted to buy it and study it on my own instead of under a priest or in that kind of church kind of school situation. This is the other book that you may not know about. It's called Tales of Yoruba Gods and Heroes by Harold Corlander. And this is the book that is talking about the Yoruba people. I wanted to read to you guys a little bit of this book because I've been reading both of these books simultaneously, the Holy Bible and this book. And both of them are supposed to be creation stories. But one is considered a myth and one is considered truth. And there's a definition for the word myth. I'll read to you the definition for a myth. What is a myth? A myth is any traditional story consisting of events that are ostensibly historical, though often supernatural, explaining the origins of a cultural practice or natural phenomenon. The word myth is derived from the Greek words mythos, which simply means story. Mythology can refer either to the study of myths, or to a body or collection of myths. Myth can mean sacred story, traditional narrative, or tale of the gods. A myth can also be a story to explain why something exists. Human cultures usually include a cosmological or a creation myth concerning the origins of the earth, of the world, or how the world came to exist. The active beings in myths are generally gods and goddesses, heroes and heroines, or animals and plants. Most myths are set in a timeless past before recorded time or beginning of the critical history. A myth can be a story involving symbols that are capable of multiple meanings. So yeah, that's the definition of myth. So let me read to you this and just see what your views are on what I'm saying. You know, feel free to leave something in the comment section below. So I'm going to read to you about the Yoruba people. If this cuts off, I'll just continue with the second part to this video. And I'm by no means done with this subject matter. So if I don't cover all that I want to cover today, I'll cover it, you know, over a period of time. So here's something about the Yoruba people, the history of them. The Yorubas. The Yoruba people, of whom there are probably more than 10 million, occupy the southwestern corner of Nigeria, along with the Dahomey border, and a branch of the Yorubas, the Anago people, extends into Dahomey itself. To the east and north of the Yoruba culture reaches its approximate limits in the region of the Niger River, though there are ample reasons to believe that ancestral cultures directly related to the Yoruba once flourished well north of the Niger. Portuguese explorers discovered the Yoruba cities and kingdoms in the 15th century. But it is believed that such cities as Ife, I think I'm saying this correctly. If you know the pronunciation, you can let me know. I'm just learning. But it is believed that such cities as Ife and Benin, among others, may have been standing at their present sites at least 400 or 500 years before the European arrival. And archaeological evidence indicates that a technologically and artistically advanced people, possibly Proto-Yorubas, were living somewhat north of the Niger in the first millennium BC. Sophisticated terracotta art found at Nok, about 300 miles north of Ife, has a stylistic relationship with later Yoruba art. The Nok terracotta was made about 300 BC, and the Nok people were then already working iron. And I don't know if I'm pronouncing the name of these people correctly. It's spelled N-O-K. I'm thinking it's Nok, but I'm not sure. The tradition says that Ife was the first of all Yoruba cities, and that the kingdoms of Benin and Oyo came into being later. I don't know if I'm saying Oyo right. O-Y-O. So Oyo and Benin probably grew and expanded as a consequence of their strategic locations at a time when overland trade became increasingly important in West Africa. The city of Benin was accessible by river from the sea, which gave it added importance as a link in the trade routes. Ife, unlike Benin and Oyo, never developed into a true kingdom. But though it remained a city-state, it had paramount importance to Yorubas and the original sacred city and the dispenser of basic religious thought. Until relatively recent times, the Yorubas did not consider themselves as single people, but rather as citizens of Oyo, Benin, Yagba, and other cities, regions, or kingdoms. Oyo regarded Lagos and Owo, for example, as foreign principalities, and the Yoruba kingdoms warred not only against the Dahomeyans, but against each other. The name Yoruba was applied to all these linguistically and culturally related peoples by their northern neighbors and the Hausas, Hausas. The old Yoruba cities typically were urban centers with surrounding farmlands that extended outward as much as a dozen miles or more. Some of them had earthworks around their perimeters for defense, either mound walls or ditches, or a combination of both. And I don't know if I'm going to pronounce this correctly. It's Ijebuode. So Ijebuode, for example, is described as having a 40-foot high earthwork comprised of a ditch and a bank, enclosing an area of some 400 square miles. Both Benin and Oyo are said to have been founded by Ife rulers or descendants of Ife rulers. Benin derived its knowledge of brass casting directly from Ife, and the religious system of divining called Ife spread from Ife not only throughout the Yoruba country, but to other West African cultures as well. A common Yoruba belief system dominated the region from the Niger, where it flows in an easterly direction all the way to the Gulf of Guinea in the south. As an accident of history, Yoruba cultural influence even spread across the Atlantic to the Americas. Slave wars launched by the Kingdom of Dahomey against some of the Yoruba kingdoms, and slave wars between the Yorubas themselves produced untold thousands of captives who were marched to seaports and sold to European traders. Yoruba slaves were sent to British, French, Spanish, and Portuguese colonies in the New World, and in a number of these places, Yoruba traditions survived strongly. In Brazil, Cuba, Haiti, and Trinidad, Yoruba religious rites, beliefs, music, and myths are evident even at this late date. In Haiti, the Yorubas were generally called Anagos. Afro-Haitian religious activities give Yoruba rites and beliefs an honored place, and the pantheon includes numerous deities of Yoruba origin. In Brazil, Yoruba religious activities are called Anago or Shango. And in Cuba, they are designated Luku. So hello, this is part 2 of me comparing the Holy Bible, its creation story, to the story of the Tales of Yoruba Gods and Heroes by Harold Corlander. And this is Spirituality Talk that I do on Thursdays. So that's, like I said on the first part, catch the first part, excuse me, that I was going to do a series on this. Just kind of comparing the Holy Bible to this story, because this is they have the creation supposed myth of the Yoruba people, how they feel like this world came to be. And I mentioned in the first part that I'm finding the Yoruba tradition or religious belief and their idea or myth of how the world came to be a lot more fascinating than the creation story in the Bible. It's funny how they call it the creation story when they refer to the Holy Bible, but when they talk about anything outside of the Holy Bible, they call it a myth. And in the first in the first part of the show, it's going to be more than 2 parts, this series, I talked about what a myth is. And it pretty much seems like the Holy Bible would fall into the definition of myth as well. Yet people still want to say creation story instead of creation myth. A myth is a story. So, yeah. I'll get further into that along down the line of this series, but I was just reading the history behind the Yoruba people and the Yoruba tradition, just right out of this book, Tales of Yoruba Gods and Heroes, by Harold Corlander. And I thought, well, I'm reading out of this book to you guys because I find this very fascinating. Is this book, accessible to anybody to get? I don't know if it's out of print. So that's probably one of the reasons why I felt like, okay, I'll read this to you guys and share it with you. I'm not saying I'm going to read the whole book, but but the parts that I find fascinating, the history is important to know about before you get into the whole spiritual and religious aspect of these people. So I'll read where I left off at from part 1. So where was I? Let's see if I can find my place. Am I on page 19? Yeah, I think I'm on page 19. Here I am. As an accident of history, Yoruba cultural influence even spread across the Atlantic to the Americas. Slave wars launched by the Kingdom of Dahomey against some of the Yoruba kingdoms, and slave wars between the Yorubas themselves produced untold thousands of captives who were marched to seaports and sold to European traders. Yoruba slaves were sent to British, French, Spanish, and Portuguese colonies in the New World. And in a number of these places, Yoruba traditions survived strongly. In Brazil, Cuba, Haiti, and Trinidad, Yoruba religious rites, beliefs, music, and myths are evident even at this late day. In Haiti, the Yorubas were generally called Anagos. Afro-Haitian religious activities give Yoruba rites and beliefs an honored place, and the pantheon includes numerous deities of Yoruba origin. In Brazil, Yoruba religious activities are called Anago or Shango, and in Cuba they are designated Lukumi. And in both of these places, the pantheon of major Yoruba deities has survived virtually intact, along with a complex of rites, beliefs, music, dances, and myths of Yoruba origin. Today, a preponderant number of Nigerian Yorubas, about 80%, profess affiliation with Christianity or Islam. Interesting. But ancient beliefs and traditions run deep, and Yorubas widely share and value the oral literature that contains within it both a historical experience and reflections on the human condition. So that's all I'll talk to you guys about for today. I just got 2 parts for you today about this, comparing the Holy Bible, its creation story, to the Yorubas, and their creation myth is what they want you to say, myth instead of story. So yeah, I find this a fascinating subject. Please leave your comments down below on what you think about, if you've read this book, Tales of Yoruba Gods and Heroes by Harold Corlander, let me know. And just let me get your idea about that, about comparing just pretty much creation stories, myths in general. It seems like they have common themes to them. But these two I'm going to concentrate on now and then move on to other religions. So, thank you for joining me today. Thank you for the likes and shares. Thank you for subscribing to my channel. Thank you for your kind comments. Like I said, leave your comments down below on what you think about just the idea of comparing different religions and seeing the commonalities within them. Geez, tongue-tied. Yeah, there's a lot of commonalities in so many religions, and I just want to just pull it apart and look at it and see it for what it is. Alrighty guys, I hope you have a great day. Peace.